Conference finals will be delayed. Tonight, Boston opens up play in Miami without one of their most valuable playoff performers. This is Playoff Central Live, presented by AT&T 5G. We begin the hour-long pregame special with breaking news. Al Horford out of Game 1 tonight. He is in health and safety protocols. We hope to take you live in just moments to hear from Ime Udoka, the head coach of the Celtics, who most certainly will address this incredible story as COVID still very much present in our world today. The Celtics will also not have Marcus Smart, foot injury, and no Kyle Lowry for the Miami Heat. So welcome to the conference finals. Greg Anthony, Sam Mitchell, I'm Jared Greenberg. Again, we're going to hear from Coach Udoka, but this is a massive blow.
Well, I was surprised you didn't. Initially, when you said that, I was assuming you were talking about the Defensive Player of the Year not playing. But you went Al Horford, which is a big loss.
Well, that's because it's new. He wasn't on the injury report as of this afternoon.
Yeah, but the bigger loss to me is Marcus Smart. And don't get me wrong, I love Al Horford, and they're going to need him, obviously, at some point. But when you think about the culture and the heart and soul of the Boston Celtics, that's Marcus Smart. And not having him out there, even though it may only be a game, is a tremendous loss because of the matchup in this series. You don't have the same level of physicality in terms of defending the paint with Miami that you do with Milwaukee and Giannis. So losing both those guys is going to be a tremendous hill to have to climb for Boston, also coming off the emotional roller coaster, if you will, of that 7-game series.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. Al Horford, the way he played in that series against Giannis, his defense, his rebounding, his ability to knock down the open three, and his versatility, man, they're going to miss that. And to GA point, how do you play a game without your emotional leader, Marcus Smart? Your tough guy, the guy that sets the table for your toughness. But when I would look at this Boston Celtics team, they don't lack toughness nowhere. Throughout that lineup, and Wayne Emery used to say this all the time, your team is going to take on either the personality of the coach, and Ime Udoka is tough, or your best players. And when you look at Tatum, Brown, and Smart, man, they got a lot of toughness to spare.
They will have Robert Williams, which will be a huge addition. Obviously, he was available for Game 7 the other day. Keep in mind, with the conference finals going every other day, that might be more difficult to get Al Horford back in the lineup for Game 2. You got to have 2 negative tests within the span of 24 hours apart, or your CT level has to be at a certain number for the NBA doctors to clear you for you to go back in.
Is that like the ACT we used to take in school?
More like the SAT for you, yeah.
I took them both.
Or somebody took it for you?
No. I went to the Ivy League.
Greg went to Vegas, man.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I got a doctorate.
He went to Vegas. You know he took his own test.
All right, let's go live to Miami, where Ime Udoka is going to address the breaking news.
Find out about Al, and based on NBA protocols, was today the first day the team was aware of this situation?
Found out about Al about 2 hours ago, and yes, today was first day.
Ime, did Al test positive?
As always, we don't comment on our status of our guys. He's feeling fine, and we'll go from there. Wait to see results and tests and future tests, and like always, I don't comment on our status of our guys.
With Marcus and Al out, who are you starting in their place?
Derek and Grant.
Does this mean you miss Al for the first 2 games of this series?
Oh, it's unsure. That's more of a medical question, honestly, but there are different protocols and tests that have to be passed, and we'll know more going forward. But it's not a definite that he's out for 2 games.
You made just a thought on not having those 2 players, but also you guys trying to step up again tonight in the situation.
We've unfortunately had quite a bit of practice with this early in the season due to injury and COVID situations. And so just like Game 2 when we won without Marcus, and Derek stepped up, and then the last 3 games without Robert, other guys have to step up, and we'll do the same with these guys out.
Ime, what's the process for Al to get back? Is it similar to early in the season? And what have you kind of seen Robert be able to do over the last week or so here to ramp up for a return tonight?
Regarding Al, it is testing that has to be, a certain number have to be passed. Don't know if it's specific days, but a specific number of tests have to be passed. And with Rob, he has looked better throughout the last week. obviously he was available for Game 7 on a needed basis, and we were comfortable with who we had, so we didn't go there. But Rob has looked better every day and was able to play in Game 7, so he'll be back with no minute restriction tonight.
Ime, is there any situation, given that you had the shoot around and that Al was there, and with huddles, and was there any situation with close contact with the rest of your players? Are they in any kind of watch situation?
I'm honestly unsure about that as of now.
Ime, you've known Eric Spoelstra for a long time. Just from your vantage point, what qualities does he possess that make him such a successful head coach?
Well, his story, first of all, his grind, that him working his way up through the video room, through the ranks, and obviously learning from one of the best and one of the best organizations. That stands out. A guy, like I said, I grew up watching as a player, and so I've known him for a long time and got to know him on a more personal level recently with doing the USA basketball stuff and my first 2 years going against him in the finals. And so just his grind, but also his adaptability, I think, with the teams he's had, different rosters, always has that success, and it's part of the Heat culture here, no doubt about that. But he's put his own stamp on it, not only from what Pat has done here, he's taken the reins of that, and so that's the one thing that really stands out with him, a guy that has learned on the fly, but also keeps you off balance, keeps you guessing, and has kind of adapted throughout the years to where he's at now.
All right, how about this for a first-year head coach? Welcome to the conference finals, and you don't have two of the more important, not the best players, but two of the more important players to what you do on both sides of the basketball. No Al Horford, no Marcus Smart. So if you missed Ime Udoka at the top, he said Derek White, who struggled mightily in Game 7 the other night, will start. Grant Williams, who had the game of his life with 7 threes in Game 7, he will get the start. Many thought maybe Daniel Tice would be the nod, the guy who would get the nod. It's not. It's Robert Williams. He's dealing with injuries of his own. He will start. So, wow. So let's talk about what got these teams, Miami and Boston, to this stage. It's their defense. And Boston's defense now is going to look a whole lot different without Smart and Horford.
Yeah, the head of the snake and the anchor, really, when you think about Horford and then also Marcus Smart. And the thing about those guys is it's the versatility, the fact that both guys can play 5 positions, and Marcus Smart can put a body on literally anybody in this league and makes the game tough. Here, Grant Williams does a great job of forcing the fadeaway. Like when you're playing a guy like Durant, that is the defender wins that possession because he forces you to shoot the shot you don't want to shoot, and they do a great job. I tell you, the guy who's improved the most defensively is Jason Tatum. He is a guy that competes like nobody's business on this side of the ball. He's accepted the challenge, and it's about just making the game a little more difficult, and that's what Boston's done. They don't believe in giving up open, uncontested rhythm shots. And that's one of the reasons why they had so much success against Milwaukee in that second round. They were able to make even Giannis, as great as he is, to play in a crowd. And then they do a great job of also, again, contesting, not giving up on the play, even if you have an advantage offensively. It was really just beautiful basketball defensively with how Boston played against the defending champs.
All right, so Boston tonight will play without Al Horford. They are 5-8 this year without Horford in the lineup. This will be the first game they've played all season, regular season or playoffs, without Horford and without Smart. As good as Boston's defense has been in the playoffs, Miami's defense has actually been slightly better.
Yeah, the one thing the Miami Heat does, they switch a lot of things. They run you off that three-point line, and then they just put bodies. They show you a crowd, and they don't let you get comfortable because they're tough, they're physical, and they get into you. And it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to do this tonight. Look at Miami. When you put the ball on the floor, look at it. They have 4 guys in the paint right now. So when Tice turns to make this shot or pass, look how everybody converges to the ball, and they just take away your space right there. And that's against the Boston Celtics in the regular season right there, and Jaylen Brown. Here they go again in transition. They're going to pick up. They don't have Kyle, but look at the wall that they're building. 5 guys again in the paint, not letting Jason Tatum go, and it's going to be important. When Tatum sees that type of crowd, he's got to get rid of the ball. Here they are again right here. Al Horford and Jaylen Brown. Look at the wall. Look at how tight everyone. Look how aggressive those switches are. And again, they got hands on you. Look at this when Tatum drives to the basket. 1, 2, 3, 5 Miami Heat players in the paint. That's why the ball has got to come out again. Again, Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat. You can see a soft trap right there, but look at the rotation when they come out right here and they chase guys and force them in the paint again. Jaylen Brown, who is a superior athlete, when he goes to the paint, they're going to have bodies, they're going to be physical, and they're not going to let you get comfortable. So we thought we saw a great defensive series with Boston and Milwaukee. It's about to go to another level because even though Boston missing 2 guys, their depth is, when they come off their bench, they bring defense and toughness. And you look at Miami, they're all about that tough grind. So this is going to be a hard-fought, tough series.
Yeah, and the one thing that's different with Miami as opposed to with Milwaukee, Miami is a much better rotation team. Whether it be when the ball gets to the paint or if they double. They're terrific, and it's not always a set rotation. They read and react. Mm-hmm. And that last one you saw it, that actually wasn't Lowry's rotation to go. And because he was diving back to the block, the next guy took it because he saw he wasn't going to get there. Like, they're really good at that. And that's the thing. They want to make you make an extra pass, whereas I thought with Milwaukee, their rotations were horrible. A lot of times they didn't even try. And that was also when they had Brook Lopez out there. They didn't have – because you got to have 5 guys that rotate in today's game. You can't just have a big that stays in the paint. Your bigs have to be able to play in space. And Bam's a lot like a young Al Horford. From a defensive standpoint, he can guard all 5, he can block shots, but he can also rotate. Like we're talking about, he can play all over the floor, and that's so important when you go small that you have a big that has that kind of versatility.
And Miami pre-rotates a lot. You know, you played for Pat Riley back in the day. They know where the ball, if you know where the ball is going, if you know the only guy that you're leaving open and you know where he is, you can pre-rotate early.
We're going to go out live to Miami. We're going to hear from Chris Haynes. We're going to hear from Ira Winderman, who's on the Heat beat. We'll see how this breaking news affects them. That's the defensive side of things here. On the offensive side, we were wondering in the first 2 rounds who was coming with Jimmy Butler on the offensive end, who else was going to support him. It seemed at times Boston got some balance, right, in terms of who helped Jason Tatum. But who do you think is going to be the better offensive player in this series, Jimmy Butler or Jason Tatum?
I'm going to say something that's going to surprise a lot of people. I think Jimmy Butler is actually the more complete player. And it's not that Jason Tatum isn't phenomenal. I just don't think we've given Jimmy Butler enough credit for just how good he's been. Remember, he's got a chance to get to his second final in the last 3 years.
And he's doing it with a chip on his shoulder.
Nobody else has done that. You know, we forget because we get so caught up in numbers and stats and what you average, and that's how we determine your worth. We need to focus more on impact and winning. And there's just nobody out here who does as much to help his team win than Jimmy Butler does. And it doesn't take away from what Tatum does. He's phenomenal as well. But I think Jimmy Butler, because of where he is at this stage of his career, he's a little more mature. He's been around a little longer, and he understands his window is closing. The bigger question is who's going to be Miami's number 2? Because Tyler Hero didn't play well in the last series, has not played well against Boston this season. And so, to me, he determines in a lot of ways who's going to win this series.
Remember, though, no Marcus Smart tonight, so Tyler Hero may have an opening.
All right, let's get more on the breaking story tonight and take you out live to Miami, where Chris Haynes is standing courtside. It looks like he's ready to deliver the breaking news with a hand on the ear. Chris Haynes. Chris, this is obviously a massive blow. What are you hearing from the Celtics side about not only Marcus Smart, who we knew there was a potential he could not play, but the fact that Horford's out too now in health and safety protocol?
Yeah, let me address Marcus Smart first. That foot injury, I'm told he's day-to-day. Ime Udoka said that they went through treatment all throughout the day, and they were hopeful that he would be able to play tonight. He said, but the pain was just too much, and they felt like it just wasn't worth the risk of injuring him further and trying to play tonight. So they're hopeful that he will be available for Game 2, but as of right now, they're going to rule him day-to-day moving forward. Now, with Al Horford, I was told he tested positive today. And Ime Udoka said he actually found out 2 hours ago. Now, one thing I want people to know is that Al Horford was at shoot-around this morning.